Hey everyone, I got some videos for you today of the Ferocious Cup highlights that I had throughout this month of November. I'm going to talk about a little bit how I felt about the Ferocious Cup going into it, how I felt afterwards, maybe about the meta a little bit, and you can check out these matches while I do that. So, this first match is versus July Phoenix. It was actually my first Ferocious match of the month, and I didn't do too well this month in my Ferocious Cups. I went to New York City. One of their big cups had 64 people, and I ended up going 4-2. When I first heard about the Ferocious Cup, we had just come off Sinister, and everyone seemed to be really tired of it, tired of the baiting with the shadow balls and all that stuff. So Ferocious seemed like a really fresh kind of cup, really interesting, a lot of picks that no one's ever used before in PvP, you know, like Bidoof and Suicune here that you can see, and I immediately loved Suicune and powered one up, gave it a second move because of what I thought potential it had with its Bubble Beam Hydro Pump combo, and Bubble Beam now lowering the attack guaranteed every single time you hit Pokemon regardless of shields seemed like a really interesting thing that I could work with. So my entire thing going into this was use Suicune to just kind of nerf the attack of all these things and then come in and farm something up with the next Pokemon. Now, it didn't necessarily translate this way in my matches because Suicune relies not only on getting those shields from the Bubble Beam, but also landing a Hydro Pump, and a lot of the moves that opposing Pokemon have would take good chunks out of it, even with the damage buff, the T-buff. So I still use that strat for most of my matches, but it didn't end up working so well for people that knew what they were doing. But other than that, I usually ran Suicune, you know, of course Umbreon, and a little Ninetales, which pretty much everybody had, and I ran also Lanoon, and sometimes I ran Alolan Raichu, or sometimes, not Alolan Raichu, sometimes I would run Kanto Raichu, or sometimes I would run Kanto Ninetales, because towards the end of the month I started seeing a lot more Alolan Sandslash, Lairon, stuff like that, so I brought in Kanto Ninetales to maybe handle those. Another big MVP I thought of this cup was Nidoqueen, even though you're seeing it getting knocked out right now. One poison jab away from that Earth Power would have taken that game, would have been nice. But Nidoqueen with Earth Power Earthquake was just really devastating, because if you could get some energy farmed up and then get into a no shield scenario, you could just start nuking things with Earthquake and Earth Power. It ended up happening a lot. I actually took out a Vaporeon with Earthquake in a different game, which was unexpected, but also really nice. Low health Nidoqueen coming in with a full Earthquake can pretty much knock out a Vaporeon, almost, I think. So, anyway, we're on game 2 here. Using that Alolan Raichu. And unfortunately he's so squishy I even have to block things like Aqua Tail. And yeah, going for Brick Break here as a bait. That was the problem. I kept going for all these baity moves, even though that would KO so low health. And the problem is it's just not consistent. You can't rely on people taking the bait. So I think that was a huge issue for me this cup. Another thing I didn't prioritize as much, which I think would have helped, is I didn't value the winning the lead matchup so I could get the switch advantage. That turned out to be a much bigger thing than I anticipated, because there's such hard counters for things like Umbreon with Alolan Ninetales, and things like Nidoqueen for Alolan Ninetales, or Skuntank for Alolan Ninetales, for example. So a lot of the time I would lead with Suicune, you know, maybe land a Hydro Pump, which doesn't kill most things unless it's like Nidoqueen or something, and maybe leave it with 2 attack debuffs. It still has like a quarter of its health, or a little bit of health, but I'd come in with something else and then they get switch advantage and win the game. So that was also another issue with Suicune, which you'll probably see here, is a lot of the time he ended up giving up switch advantage, which could ruin you for the rest of the game. Something I did wish I brought more was Skunk Tank. I think it ended up being a real star in this cup for a lot of people, just because its crunch came out quick, gave such good neutral damage to a lot of things, and no real hard counter for it unless you're landing an Earth Power with Nidoqueen. But even then, crunch does a good amount of damage to Nidoqueen anyway. Another thing I heard a lot of people talking about mid-cup is that this cup is very, very IV dependent. You know, if you have the right break points and bulk points, you can either take a match or lose a match, and so that's why I think a lot of these games ended up coming down to a couple HP on Mon's left. You know, it's games that could really go either way, but because of the IVs, it maybe changed the outcome a little bit. Another issue I also noticed is that when I used Suicune, it was my only water type, and I think a lot of people recognize that and realize that they just have to take out the Suicune, which, you know, honestly isn't that hard, because even you can land Hydro Pumps and stuff, it's not going to knock out a lot of stuff. And it also required me to use at least one shield on it to be able to build up to the Hydro Pump and then bait with a Bubble Beam, or maybe just go straight for the Hydro Pump. It takes a little while, even with Snarl. Nice switch. That was a nice switch. Using the Suicune as a third shield, but I don't think it's going to really matter here. Prick just doesn't do enough damage, and then it's going to get a foul play off, and boom, dead. Raichu's dead. Yeah, so that was a rough getting 3-0'd by July Phoenix. He's a good player here from CT. I play him a lot in these remote matches. So here's another match. I played against another big CT player called Joe DeB, and I played him in the Milford Cup, which I went 3-2. So that wasn't the best either, but these were really great games, and either of us could have won these. The nice thing about the Last Resort Umbreon was that if you came into the Ninetales matchup with enough energy, you could probably get 2 Last Resorts off on the Ninetales and bring it down pretty close to dead. But here's that strategy, you know, Suicune coming in, just getting some Bubble Beams off to lower the attack of this thing, so maybe if it kills me I can just farm it up, or hopefully I can bait a Hydro Pump maybe and knock it out. But he had 2 shields. I was really trying to get those shields out. Luckily I was able to switch out with Ninetales, my own Ninetales, and knock his out. And he still has 2 shields up, and I'm Ninetales versus Umbreon, so I'm in a pretty nice spot, even though if he gets off a Last Resort, it's gonna chunk me, which he's probably gonna try to do. Looking back, he didn't shield the Psyshock, which is interesting considering I had 2 shields. I mean, you generally don't shield Psyshock as Umbreon, but in this case, it being his last Pokemon, it could have actually saved him, probably. Because I was able to get 2 Psyshocks off. He shielded one of them. If he had shielded that other one, he probably would have won. Now, it might have been smarter for me to just charm all the way down, knowing that he had 2 shields and he was going to block both my charge attacks, because using a charge attack uses up one of your fast attacks. So a shielded Psyshock is going to be 1 damage versus a Charm, which is like, I don't know, 12 or something on Umbreon. I was lucky to take that game off him, and we'll see how these other ones go. So yep, going for the Bubble Beam bait on the Skunk. He doesn't block it, but he predicts my Hydro Pump, which I don't think I had Hydro Pumped him at all this game yet, so I was expecting him to also let this go through thinking it was a Bubble Beam, but whatever. So I'm trying to get to the Hydro Pump, don't make it. I see him quick switch out, so I'm going to drop this Bubble Beam on his Spy Barrel, lower his attack a bit, just as he knocks me out. Now, I wanted to save my Alolan Ninetales for his Umbreon, so I just brought out my own Umbreon. And remembering he's still switch locked and I'm not. Was able to farm up a good amount of energy before he able to get it off, but then he took the shield, switched out. He has a bunch of Energy Sword up, brings in his Ninetales to try to take my Umbreon out real quick, but I respond with my own Ninetales. And this is a tricky situation as well. Do I let it go through and possibly risk getting Charmed down? But no, I was able to survive that, get off another Charm, get the Psyshock of my own, and take his out, which is probably a really good scenario for me. But he comes in and kills Ninetales with one poison jab. The issue here is I was slamming that last resort going into that matchup, but he still got his off first, which was really, really unfortunate. Because if I don't know why I didn't get that last resort. If I got that last resort, it would have knocked out his Skunk Tank, and I probably maybe would have been able to shield the charge attack from the B-Barrel and take it out with a Foul Play. But, you know, sometimes charge move priority works weird. This is our third match, which I also believe was quite the nail-biter towards the end. I probably could have baited with the Foul Play there, might have been a good idea. So he used a shield in this matchup, blocking one of my last swords, so I'm going to use a shield blocking one of his crunches. He gets me pretty good with that, and I'm trying to get to this last resort, get it, and I believe this will knock him out or come close to it. But he shields it, he double shields his Skunk Tank, and now switches out, comes in with the B-Barrel, and I don't switch out the quickest to take a lot of water gun damage. He's building up a ton of energy, so I want to save my Alolan Ninetales for his Umbreon, but he has all that energy stored up. He's going to do a lot of damage with these Surfs using my last shield and bring me almost down to nothing. And unfortunately, we tie out. I was hoping to farm him down and get a Psyshock on whatever came in next. See that? You see that there? Spamming that last resort. Don't know why it didn't go off. That would have been quite nice, because then, same thing as last time, I could have killed the Skunk Tank with the last resort and had the full Nidoqueen for his Alolan Ninetales. But instead, I can't even take down a Skunk Tank with my Nidoqueen, so I'm forced to use a charge move. And then one Charm takes care of it. Would have been nice if I got that last resort off. But either way, those are really good games. So here is a match from the New York City Cup that I thought was a really fun match to play against this guy, Hair Bear. Still going with that Suicune strat here. And I'm surprised he predicted that Hydro Pump. Most people would hardly ever shield on the first one. So that messed me up for the whole game. And here I'm thinking like, oh, I can go double Hydro Pump, he's never going to expect that. And then he gets to a Surf before me. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. So I shield the Surf. We're both on even shields. I go for another Hydro Pump. He doesn't block it, but see, this is what I'm talking about. I land a Hydro Pump, it still doesn't matter. He still wins the switch advantage. So I probably should have brought another water. I had a Vaporeon with Last Resort that probably would have worked a lot better. Or at least intimidated more people, knowing I had 2 waters. And here again, I'm trying to feint down his B-Barrel with Lanoon, but of course that Shadow Claw is resisted by his normal typing. So I end up taking a lot of damage, end up, using a shield. I probably should have just launched the Gratch Knot. And my Lanoon is 1 tick away from dying. But also trying to get to that Earth Power before the Psyshock could get out. He wins the charge move priority, almost knocks me out. And of course, I'd already queued it up, so now I have to use the Earth Power. And now we're in a Nidoqueen versus Nidoqueen with like 0 energy advantage. Luckily I got the charge move priority first, but it's not going to kill a Nidoqueen. I would need Earthquake to kill the Nidoqueen. I knew that he was going to get to it at the exact same time I was, so I had no choice but to go for Earth Power. And now my one-hit Lanoon gone. That was a close game still, If I had won that charge move priority and not got hit by the Psyshock, it would have been a different game, but oh well. Leading with Suicune again. Last time I Hydro Pumped, so this time I'm Bubble Beaming. It's really a gamble. Are they going to think you're going for double Hydro Pump, or are you going to go for a bunch of Bubble Beams? I don't know. So he shielded the first one. That's best case scenario for me. I go for the Hydro Pump. He blocks it, so he's lost both his shields. I'm like, I'll just get my Suicune out of here, and we'll come in with 2 shields, Nidoqueen, be able to farm down this Ninetales, which has already been Bubble Beamed once. He switches out to B-Barrel, I switch out to Lanoon. He has no shields, so I should be able to take this match pretty easily. I'm remembering he has Ninetales in the back, and I need to save at least 1 shield for a Psyshock that it could have on the Nidoqueen. So this Grass Knot almost takes out the B-Barrel, and I'm probably just going to farm it down a little bit. Barely any health, the Charms will take me out nice. I still have 2 shields, which is awesome. I'm going to try to farm this a little bit, knowing that the Psyshock's coming and I have shields to block it, no big deal. I'm going to bring him down all the way, and now I have a ton of energy to use on whatever's coming next. Happens to be a Nidoqueen. I know I can take it out with this Earthquake. Easy game. Now that all hinged off the fact that I got the Bubble Beam bait in the beginning with Suicune and he double shielded, so I was able to easily clean up everything that came in, not having to worry about using baits or is he going to shield or what. Suicune again. I luckily predicted the Hyper Fang and didn't shield a Surf. Going for the Bubble Beam because at least if he doesn't shield, which he does, drops his attack and I can end up getting a lot more charge moves off because this Water Gun isn't going to do any damage to me. So I go for the second Bubble Beam, hoping that he'll shield again. He doesn't. And now I'm trying to decide, do I want to use another Bubble Beam? Do I want to go for the Hydro Pump? But all his charge attacks aren't going to be doing much because this is now the 3rd time his attack has been debuffed. And attacks can only be, or Pokemon can only be debuffed 4 stages, and Bubble Beam does 1 stage each time. So any Bubble Beams after 4 would really do nothing other than maybe just strictly shield bait. But now that was best case scenario, I get to go up against the second Pokemon and get one of these Bubble Beams off to lower his attack. Almost get to another one. So here I'm coming in with the Nidoqueen, hoping to get Earth Power off. He comes in with his Nidoqueen. I'm going to use an Earth Power. He's probably going to have to shield this. And he does. And I switch out so I don't have to shield with my Nidoqueen. I end up shielding anyway with Lanoon. So it was a questionable thing, but I'm going for this dig here because I know I can take it out with the dig. He gets that Earth Power off, which does a decent amount of damage. I pull the dig out, which is of course super effective damage, kills it. Now the issue here is he got a lot of time to farm up with his Skunk Tank. So he has a crunch ready to go as soon as I come in. And remember, he's debuffed once from the Bubble Beam. So I'm like, I could take these, which I have to anyway. But now we're coming real close, and I've got to get to this Earth Power before him. And look, one Poison Jab away. This seems to happen all the time in this cup. One Poison Jab away from Earth Power. So close, but I thought those were really good games. So, the last match here is another one from the New York City Cup versus South Speedo, and I thought these were pretty decent matches. We got the Umbreon versus B-Barrel lead. He goes for the Hyper Fang. I was hoping it was a Surf, so I didn't block it, but either way, survive very easily. He takes the Last Resort. And pretty much in these cases, I don't always go for Foul Play, because a lot of the time they just take it anyway, but luckily he's shielded. Comes in with Raichu. I come with Nidoqueen, which is a pretty good matchup for me. I'm not really sure what this is. It's a Brick Break. I probably should have just... I don't know why I shielded that. That was silly. And that could have maybe cost me the match, but I don't think it does. But an Earth Power versus Raichu is going to destroy it. He comes with the B-Barrel, which is a counter for Ninetales. A counter for Nidoqueen. I end up just taking the Surf, knowing I can come in with something else and probably farm it down for energy. Coming with Ninetales, 3 easy charms, it's out. Now I have a bit of energy for whatever comes in, and luckily his last Pokemon is Umbreon, which is, as we know, a very easy win. Even with a shield, I don't even have to worry about getting hit by a Last Resort. I can just farm him down all the way. And now he has one shield, and I know that if I use my Psyshock, he's going to shield it, and I lose out on a charm. It wouldn't have really mattered, but if you're in a scenario like that where you know you're only going to get one charge attack off before the game ends, and they have one shield, and your fast moves are doing way more damage, just go for the fast moves. Now here we're in a bad situation. Definitely lost the lead on this one, so get a couple in, which is questionable. Switch to Umbreon, which is going to do pretty well against B-Barrel. And I decided to block the Hyper Fang, because I know I'm at an energy disadvantage here, because he's been farming all that time. Probably could have gone for a Foul Play there, knowing that he'd block if I block. Now we're in the Umbreon mirror, which is incredibly boring. Just gonna launch Last Resorts over and over. See, there I did a little of that QSA, where you tap the charge move and keep fast attacking until they use theirs, and you get to an extra fast attack in sometimes and immediately launch your charge move right after theirs. So this is a good time to do it, because he was, I believe, switch locked in, and I know that he's going to be launching charge moves off and they're not going to kill me, so I can wait to use my own. He unfortunately gets to that Last Resort before me, and I survived with just enough health to get that last Resort off, which was very clutch for this game. So I'm up a shield, down a Pokemon. I'm just gonna probably farm up this Umbreon best I can, and have Earth Power or Earthquake, because he has no shields, ready for whatever's coming in. Just Ninetales, I get a little bit of lag, no big deal. Get this Earthquake off, which does a ton of damage, one-shots the thing. Now I'm in a great scenario. I'm a shield up. I have a little Ninetales, and I don't need to worry about anything. This game is as good as over. Now we have Granbull, which is probably the only one I faced in this entire cup, I think. He switches out immediately, recognizing that it's a bad matchup. He goes into Bibarel to counter the Nidoqueen. I go into Umbreon because Umbreon's a beast and beats pretty much everything. There we see the QSA again. But I think I messed it up, and I ended up launching the charge move. Probably be a Hyper Fang. Now, knowing that he might get off another charge move before I can get to Last Resort, I launch this Foul Play, which should do a decent amount of damage anyway. He shields it, switches out, comes into Granbull, knocks out my Umbreon super quick, couldn't even switch out in time. But I have Nidoqueen in the back to take care of it. I know that he was probably close to a charge move, so I didn't want to let him get to one. He used the Earth Power right away. Now this Surf's going to do a decent amount of damage, but he might not have any energy after this. I get nervous and switch out. He switches out at the same time, but all he has to switch out into is Umbreon. So again, this is another clean, done match. Anyway, that's all the matches I have for today. I wasn't the biggest fan of Ferocious Cup. There was a huge dust investment. You know, granted, I did poorly mostly because of my team composition and using the Suicune strategy, which it didn't work out so well for me most of the time. But Timeless is coming up. It looks like a pretty fresh, interesting meta. There's going to be a lot of diversity between all the starters and stuff. If you get a chance, head on over to Twitter. I have a Twitter account that I use sometimes to post some cool catches I get, things that happen. Give it a follow. It's at jackrack_CT. Anyway, have a great day and hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving.